Okay, we're hitting record on the microphone this time. Hi, thank you for clicking on my little video. I'm Julia.a.strology. I want to start by reading Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer. So originally, I had an excerpt in mind that talks about language because I wanted to talk about how astrology is like a language. And so there's this section right here that talks about language, but when I opened, I just was curious. I put the book on its spine like that, and it opened up to this page. So I wanted to read that I feel like the book wanted this part to be read. So this is page 27 from the chapter The Gift of Strawberries. Sweetgrass belongs to Mother Earth. Sweetgrass pickers collect properly and respectfully for their own use and the needs of their community. They return a gift to the earth and tend to the well-being of the Wingashk. The braids are given as gifts to honor, to say thank you, to heal, and to strengthen. The sweetgrass is kept in motion. When Wally gives sweetgrass to the fire, it is a gift that has passed from hand to hand, growing richer as it is honored in every exchange. That is the fundamental nature of gifts. They move and their value increases with their passage. The fields made a gift of berries to us, and we made a gift of them to our Father. The more something is shared, the greater its value becomes. This is hard to grasp for societies steeped in notions of private property, where others are, by definition, excluded from sharing. Practices such as posting land against trespass, for example, are expected and accepted in a property economy, but are unacceptable in an economy where land is seen as a gift to all. Lewis Hyde wonderfully illustrates this dissonance in his exploration of the Indian giver. This expression, used negatively today as a pejorative for someone who gives something and then wants to have it back, actually derives from a fascinating cross-cultural misinterpretation between an indigenous culture operating in a gift economy and a colonial culture predicated on the concept of private property. When gifts were given to the settlers by native inhabitants, the recipients understood that they were valuable and were intended to be retained. Giving them away would have been an affront, but the indigenous people understood the value of the gift to be based in reciprocity and would be affronted if the gifts did not circulate back to them. Many of our ancient teachings counsel that whatever we have been given is supposed to be given away again. From the viewpoint of a private property economy, the gift is deemed to be free because we obtain it free of charge, at no cost. But in the gift economy, gifts are not free. The essence of the gift is that it creates a set of relationships. The currency of a gift economy is, at its root, reciprocity. In Western thinking, private land is understood to be a bundle of rights. That's in quotes, bundle of rights, whereas in a gift economy, property has a bundle of responsibilities attached. So that's what part of the book wanted to be read. I'm gonna read. This is, I was thinking about it as language, but I think there's a lot more here. It's 5 pages, single-sided, so let's get into it. This is from the chapter Learning the Grammar of Animacy, page 52, the first full paragraph. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12:15 Oklahoma time. I join the Potawatomi lunch. I'm sorry if I mispronounce anything. I join the Potawatomi lunchtime language class, streaming from tribal headquarters via the internet. There are usually about 10 of us from all over the country. Together we learn to count and to say, pass the salt. Someone asks, how do you say, please pass the salt? Our teacher, Justin Neely, a young man devoted to language revival, explains that while there are several words for thank you, there is no word for please. Food was meant to be shared, no added politeness needed. It was simply a cultural given that one was asking respectfully. The missionaries took this absence as further evidence of crude manners. Many nights when I should be Many nights when I should be grading papers or paying bills, I'm at the computer running through Potawatomi language drills. After months, I have mastered the kindergarten vocabulary and can confidently match the pictures of animals to their indigenous names. It reminds me of reading picture books to my children. Can you point to the squirrel? Where is the bunny? All while I'm telling myself that I don't really have time for this. And what's more, little need to know the words for bass and fox anyway. Since our tribal diaspora left us scattered to the four winds, who would I talk to? The simple phrases I'm learning are perfect for my dog. Sit, eat, come here, be quiet. But since she scarcely responds to these commands in English, I'm reluctant to train her to be bilingual. An admiring student once asked me if I spoke my native language. I was tempted to say, "Oh, yes, we speak Potawatomi at home. Me, the dog, and the post it notes." Our teacher tells us not to be discouraged and thanks us every time a word is spoken. Thanks us for breathing life into the language, even if we only speak a single word. But I have no one to talk to. I complain, none of us do. He reassures me, but someday we will. So I dutifully learn the vocabulary, but find it hard to see the heart of our culture in translating bed and sink into Potawatomi. Learning nouns was pretty easy after all. I'd learned thousands of botanical Latin names and scientific terms. I'd reasoned that this could not be too much different. Just a one-for-one substitution. Memorization. At least on paper where you can see the letters, this is true. Hearing the language is a different story. There are fewer letters in our alphabet, so the distinction among words for a beginner is often subtle. With the beautiful clusters of consonants of zh and mb and shwe and kwe and mshk, our language sounds like wind in the pines and water over rocks, sounds our ears may have been more delicately attuned to in the past, but no longer. I learn again, you really have to listen. To actually speak, of course, requires verbs, and here is where my kindergarten proficiency at naming things leaves off. English is a noun-based language, somehow appropriate to a culture so obsessed with things. Only 30% of English words are verbs, but in Potawatomi, that proportion is 70%, which means that 70% of the words have to be conjugated, and 70% have different tenses and cases to be mastered. European languages often assign gender to nouns, but Potawatomi does not divide the world into masculine and feminine. Nouns and verbs both are animate and inanimate. You hear a person with a word that is completely different from the one with which you hear an airplane. Pronouns, articles, plurals, demonstratives, verbs, all those syntactical bits I could never keep straight in high school English are all aligned in Potawatomi to provide different ways to speak of the living world and the lifeless one. Different verb forms, different plurals, different everything apply depending on whether what you are speaking of is alive. No wonder there are only 9 speakers left. I try, but the complexity makes my head hurt, and my ear can barely distinguish between words that mean completely different things. One teacher reassures us that this will come with practice, but another elder concedes that those close similarities are inherent in the language. As Stuart King, a knowledge keeper and great teacher, reminds us, the Creator meant for us to laugh, so humor is deliberately built into the syntax. Even a small slip of the tongue can convert "we need more firewood" to "take off your clothes." In fact, I learned that the mystical word pupoi is used not only for mushrooms, but also for certain other shafts that rise mysteriously in the night. My sister's gift to me one Christmas was a set of magnetic tiles for the refrigerator in Ojibwe, or Anishinaabemowin. Anishinaabemowin, a language closely related to Potawatomi. I spread them out on my kitchen table looking for familiar words, but the more I looked, the more worried I got. Among the 100 or more tiles, there was but a single word that I recognized: Megwesh, thank you. The small feeling of accomplishment from months of studying evaporated in a moment. I remember paging through the Ojibwe dictionary she sent, trying to decipher the tiles, but the spellings didn't always match, and the print was too small, and are way too many variations on a single word, and I was feeling that this was just way too hard. The threads in my brain knotted, and the harder I tried, the tighter they became. Pages blurred, and my eyes settled on a word. A verb, of course. To be a Saturday. Poofed! I threw down the book. Since when is Saturday a verb? Everyone knows it's a noun. I grabbed the dictionary and flipped more pages, and all kinds of things seemed to be verbs. To be a hill, to be red, to be a long sandy stretch of beach. And then my fingers rested on wikwegama, or wikwegama. There's 2 I's and 2 A's. Wikwegama. Wikwegama. I don't know. I'm sorry. To be a bay. Ridiculous, I ranted in my head. There's no reason to make it so complicated. No wonder no one speaks it. A cumbersome language, impossible to learn, and more than that, it's all wrong. A bay is most definitely a person, place, or thing. A noun and not a verb. I was ready to give up. I'd learned a few words, done my duty to the language that was taken from my grandfather. Oh, the ghosts of the missionaries in the boarding schools must have been rubbing their hands in glee at my frustration. She's going to surrender, they said. And then I swear I heard the zap of my synapses firing. An electric current sizzled down my arm and through my finger, and practically scorched the page where that one word lay. In that moment, I could smell the water of the bay, watch it rock against the shore, and hear it sift onto the sand. A bay is a noun only if water is dead. When bay is a noun, it is defined by humans, trapped between its shores and contained by the word. But the verb wigwigama, to be a bay, releases the water from bondage and lets it live. To be a bay holds the wonder that for this moment the living water has decided to shelter itself between these shores, conversing with cedar roots and a flock of baby mergansers. I don't know what that is, because it could do otherwise. Become a stream or an ocean or a waterfall. And there are verbs for that too. To be a hill, to be a sandy beach, to be a Saturday. All are possible verbs in a world where everything is alive. Water, land, and even a day. The language, a mirror for seeing the animacy of the world. The life that pulses through all things, through pines and nuthatches and mushrooms. This is the language I hear in the woods. This is the language that lets us speak of what wells up all around us. All the vestiges of boarding schools, the soap-wielding missionary wraiths, hang their heads in defeat. This is the grammar of animacy. Imagine seeing your grandmother standing at the stove in her apron, and then saying of her, "Look, it is making soup. It has gray hair." We might snicker at such a mistake, but we also recoil from it. In English, we never refer to a member of our family, or indeed to any person, as it. That would be a profound act of disrespect. It robs a person of selfhood and kinship, reducing a person to a mere thing. So it is that in Potawatomi and most other indigenous languages, we use the same words to address the living world as we use for our own family, because they are our family. To whom does our language extend the grammar of animacy? Naturally, plants and animals are animate, but as I learn, I'm discovering that the Potawatomi understanding of what it means to be animate diverges from the list of attributes of living beings we all learned in Biology 101. In Potawatomi 101, rocks are animate, as are mountains, and water, and fire, and places, beings that are imbued with spirit. Sacred medicines, our songs, drums, and even stories are all animate. The list of inanimate seems to be smaller, filled with objects that are made by people. Of an inanimate being, like a table, we say, "What is it?" And we answer, "Dopwin yewe," table it is. But of an apple, we must say, "Who is that being?" And reply, "Mshimin Yahweh." Apple that being is. Yahweh, the animation to be. I am, you are, she, he is. To speak of those possessed with life and spirit, we must say Yahweh. But what linguistic confluence do Yahweh of the Old Testament and Yahweh of the New World both fall from the mouths of the reverent? Isn't it just what it means to be, to have the breath of life within, to be the offspring of creation? The language reminds us in every sentence of our kinship with all of the animate world. English doesn't give us many tools for incorporating respect for animacy. In English, you are either a human or a thing. Our grammar boxes us in by the choice of reducing a non-human being to an it, or it must be gendered appropriately as a he or a she. Where are our words for the simple existence of another living being? Where is our Yahweh? My friend Michael Nelson, an ethicist who thinks a great deal about moral inclusion, told me about a woman he knows, a field biologist whose work is among other than humans. Most of her companions are not two-legged, and so her language has shifted to accommodate her relationships. She kneels along the trail to inspect a set of moose tracks, saying, "Someone's already been this way this morning." "Someone is in my hat," she says, shaking out a deer fly. "Someone, not something." When I'm in the woods with my students, teaching them the gift of plants and how to call them by name, I try to be mindful of my language, to be bilingual between the lexicon of science and the grammar of animacy. Although they still have to learn scientific roles and Latin names, I hope I'm also teaching them to know that the world is a neighborhood of non-human residents, to know that, as eco-theologian Thomas Berry has written, we must say of the universe that it is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. So it does kind of relate to astrology in another way there. Um, if you think about the Richard Tarnas quote that we already Red. All right. But yeah, I was trying to learn German. My dad and I had a trip planned. We were gonna backpack around Germany mostly. We ended up going more to Italy. But we went a lot of places in Europe. We went backpacking around, and like I said, the plan was to just go to Germany mainly. And so we were both learning German on Duolingo, and like we got post-it notes and we're putting them all around. I don't think I have any more like handy, but yeah, so I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's talking about putting post-it notes and stuff," and just like getting frustrated at like how different the languages are and just being like, "What is going on?" Like to be a bae. And there's just yeah, there's a lot of stuff in German that I was like, "Why?" Anyway, so we're gonna start like I said last week, um this entry before the last one I did starts by saying like scratch that last one, so I'm just gonna give the context for the whole thing. So we're gonna start two entries before with Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. I bought some headphones at Ralph's. And they were only like 3.59 or something, but they look so cute on me. I want to wear them to the gym, except I haven't been going to the gym. I've been walking Bowser every day instead because I'm still nervous about Corona, obviously, since Los Angeles is the epicenter of COVID right now, and ICUs are full, and they're opening restaurants again for some reason. Valentine's Day, probably. I'm so mad if I end up serving couples eating together on Valentine's Day while I'm alone, I may just die on the spot. I'm so sad. Not actually that sad, but I don't really like anybody right now. Like, yeah, I'm trying to get with Blue again, but that doesn't mean I like him. I like him, but he isn't giving me any attention, and that bothers me. But I'm also young and hot, and I want to get busy, but every time I invite Blue over, he didn't end up coming over, and then he doesn't really text me back anymore, so that's probably not going to work out. I should just give in and buy a toy, but honestly, I want somebody to sleep next to me too. But the one time Blue sent me a text saying like, "I can't sleep. Let me try your bed," or something. I just looked, I was like writing and then I went and checked the text and copied it down. I just looked. He said, "Can't sleep. Let me crash at your place." Like, and I said, "Okay," and he didn't come because he was too tired. Like, I was thinking earlier about how when I was young, I would just tell people anything I found interesting. I remember getting the feeling that people just didn't care about what I had to say. Now I wish I could just blurt out whatever I was thinking sometimes, but I'm so afraid to talk to people, and I just don't know what to talk about. And I don't want to bore people, so I let people talk to me if they want to, but I'm tired of putting in so much effort for people who don't really care about me. I think I just feel so ashamed of everything all the time, and I need to figure out how to let that go and stop caring what other people think about me. But trying to change for someone else isn't going to work. I try to be whatever someone else wants me to be, and it takes up so much energy that I don't have time for myself. I need to take care of myself first, and then with whatever energy I have left, I can give to people who deserve it. It really sucks that I don't really feel close to anybody in my life right now. Also, I think that since I already assume people don't like me, then the first sign I see that they don't, and I pull back, so most people probably think I don't care about them, and so they don't try with me, and then it just proves my theory, but really, they were just busy or something, and I think that's why I started being more forward with Blue, and he probably thinks I want a relationship, and he doesn't, which would be fine with me. I'm just hormonal, but I don't want to tell him that at work over text, and he never wants to hang out with me, so I can't tell him any other way. And then, so that's the end of that entry, and then we move on to February 6th, 2021. This one is time stamped. I love that for me. 11:04 a.m. OMG, this is so embarrassing, but scratch that last. Blue texted me the next day and we hung out, and I literally want to be around him all the time. But he works so much, he can't come over all the time, so I'm having to do a lot of the things I've been doing to focus on myself so we can enjoy the time we do have together. I took Bowser on a walk today and I started crying, thinking about how I feel like I can count on him to be there for me. And before I left, I was thinking about how when I was in gymnastics when I was little, I could stand on the bar and balance while the instructor was holding my hand. And as soon as he would move his hand, I would lose my balance, even though I wasn't really putting any pressure on his hand. And I think I realized that I just don't trust myself because I've never felt supported. So that's that entry. And then we've got the ones that I've read. And then I did technically read this one already too, but we'll read it again just for for the sake of the video. So Sunday, March 14th, 2021, 1:04 p.m. and then it continues at 10:37 p.m. So 1:04 p.m. I woke up today and heard Bowser whining in his room, so I got up to walk him, and then we played outside for a little bit, but I feel so tired, and maybe it's the coffee I've been drinking lately and haven't had yet today. That's another good reason to go to the gym again because I can drink pre-workout, which has caffeine, and is probably one reason the gym makes me feel better. But the physical exercise obviously helps too, and with my Mars in Cancer, that's important. I meant to say fifth house, not Cancer, but anyway. I looked at Green's chart yesterday and it made me take everything she says less personally because she has a lot of air signs and two grand trines in air, and mine is in water, so I think she doesn't understand how emotional I can be, and it feels like everything is spiraling out of control and there's nowhere for them to go, the emotions, and there's nowhere for them to go. Sometimes when I tell her about a problem I'm having and she just gives me the first solution she thinks of when I've already tried it and it didn't work, or it shows she doesn't really know why it's such a problem in the first place, and it makes it really frustrating to talk to her about how I feel, even though we both have Gemini moons, but that just means, like I said, I just have to try not to take anything she says personally and just trust that she cares about me when I interpret something she does as her not caring about me, but now that I know where my problems stem from, I can either choose not to talk to her about my problems, talk about one smaller one, or tell the truth and decide that her reactions don't have to affect me like that. And I can just have a light conversation about whatever. It doesn't have to be that deep in the first place, but I gotta get ready for work now. So then 10:37, Blue came into his right as I was cut, and I was right by the door, and I said hi, and he didn't even look at me, but he talked to Purple and Purple, and it felt like he was trying to get away from me as fast as possible. It was really weird, and I haven't heard from him in days, so it would have been nice if he would have acknowledged me in any way. I got a buffalo salad from work and I can't eat it because I'm upset. I just don't understand why it's so hard for me to find someone who's willing to put in effort for me. I've been texting him first every day and he was being really unresponsive, and I don't know why, and it's driving me crazy, and I can't keep doing this, but I guess it doesn't matter because we're just friends anyway. Apparently he's food running on Wednesday, so we'll be working together. I'm so tired of letting other people dictate my moods like this. Yes. So the first one, January 27th. Did I put the right date? I put in January 28th when I was entering this on the computer for some reason. Um, so yeah, again, no timestamp, so no houses, but we've got Venus conjunct Pluto. I mean, yeah, I know the glyphs. Venus conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. Um, I always feel like Venus should be in some sort of debilitation in Capricorn, but she's not. She's like exalted in Pisces, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So I feel like since Venus and Mars are usually opposites, um, like to me it's just like, oh, Venus wouldn't do well in Capricorn, but technically she's peregrine there. So that's yeah, fun little lesson. So we've got a lot of Aquarius energy still. Um, Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius was the beginning of the COVID pandemic, and so this is only less than a year after that. So we've got Saturn and Jupiter still together, and now the Sun is conjoining them because it's Aquarius season. This is Valentine's Day, like end of January, going into February, so we're in Aquarius season. Why is Valentine's Day in Aquarius season too? Um, that's something for another time, I guess. And Mercury is also in Aquarius. We've got Neptune in Pisces, Mars conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus, which is conjunct Pluto. So that's that's a lot of really intense energy. And then the moon in Cancer. So the moon is the ruler of Cancer, so that's the moon does well in Cancer. But we've still got like Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion, in Saturn's sign while Saturn is also in its own sign. So that's like I feel like there's a lot of stuff that should like I should be getting promoted at work and I'm not, and I should be like um being I should be able to hang out with this guy that like he kept telling me how like I was the prettiest girl that we worked with. He was like he just seemed really into me, and then he just like suddenly was not interested in like spending time with me. like hanging out, texting, and I was like, where? I don't. I thought he was just busy. Like there was a month where like yeah, we didn't really talk, and then we had a talk after, and he was like, oh yeah, I went through all this stuff. Like his neighbor's house got like broken into, and he like found. I don't need to get into it, but yeah, he had like a black eye and he didn't want me to like worry. He's like, I want you to be happy when you're around me. I didn't want you to like be upset and stuff. And like I wasn't happy, so I was like, and so like anytime he wasn't talking to me, I was thinking it was like something like that. That's kind of what I was like, he must be like going through something that he doesn't want to talk about with me. Because I did, I said the one thing about like, can I look at your birth chart or what time were you born? And he said it was creepy. Um, but like that I didn't really put that much weight on that. I just kind of like cuz he brought up astrology to me. He told me his birthday and his sign and then so I was like, "Oh, cool." And so I just wanted to look at like more of his placements cuz like I said we didn't really have time together. So yeah, so Venus and Pluto together are very like Venus is a planet of love and then Pluto is like the god of the underworld. And so it's like love and then hell and it's like not the combination that you want necessarily. So that's yeah. I'm just not having a good time with love. Even then Venus enters Aquarius and then is there with Saturn, which we've already looked at those charts. What else do I talk about? Um, yeah, I guess like the Mars Uranus conjunction because Mars is also like sexual energy and then Uranus is like sudden changes so like maybe me asking for his birth time was just like too he was thought it was just like the big change that like gave him the ick and he was just like no no more and then yeah I was literally I remember being there. Oh, that's the other entry I read, isn't it? Yeah, so this is still before. I'm getting confused by my own timeline. Yeah. Yeah, he literally texted me. He's like, "Let me sleep at your place." And then I told him that he could, and then he didn't come over. Um, and yeah. Yeah, and at one point I said it was like really hormonal. That's not the word I used here, but I don't think YouTube. I don't know why I'm worried about getting like censored or demonetized because my videos they have like 4 views and 2 of them are me at this point. But um, yeah, I was just like if any of my relatives are watching this, you can just stop, just mute it for a sec. I was so, like, I could not, like, think about anything. I was, like, trying to sleep, and I was just like, no. So I was like, this guy seems like he likes me, and so let's see what's going on. I'm not really talking about the charts that much, so let's see. That was the first chart for January 27th. I'm, like, rambling. I don't even know I'm doing okay, and then the next chart for February 6th, we have Venus entering Aquarius, so no longer with Pisces, but like I said, now with Saturn. Um, Venus is pretty closely conjunct Saturn in this chart. It looks like they just passed. Venus just passed Saturn. Um, and so Venus is leaving the separating from the aspect with Saturn and going towards an aspect with Jupiter. So you would think that that was like things are getting better. So yeah, it starts off saying like, wow, this is embarrassing, but scratch that last. That's from Harry Potter. Trans rights or human rights. Trans women are women. And all that. J.K. Rowling is a turf and we disown her, but that the reporter in the movie, I thought she was really funny. Anyway, so I'm like, scratch that last with her little like automated quill notebook. Oh, that was so cute. Anyway, so yeah, I think this was the time that I was talking about where like we weren't Like he wasn't talking to me, and I like it had been a full month, and I decided like, okay, like whatever, this isn't gonna happen. And then I was acting different around him at work, and then I think like something like because I was acting different, he was like, okay, like what's going on? And so we like hung out again. 'Cause I as soon as I gave up hope, and then it's like, okay. So um yeah, I'm like walking my roommate's dog all the time. And this one, oh, hold on. Did I put the time? 11:04. Yeah. So it's 11:04 a.m. So we've got, okay, we get to work with the houses now. I'm so excited. So we've got Taurus rising. Mars pretty close to the ascendant. Ascendant's at 19 Taurus. Mars is at 15 Taurus. So if you're not using whole sign houses, Mars is in the 12th house. And oh, I was looking for Uranus. Uranus is six Taurus. So lots of Taurus energy in either the first or 12th house, depending on what house system you use. And then we've got the IC. Is that in Leo? Yeah, 2 Leo. So that means the MC is at 2 Aquarius. So our Aquarius energy, we got the midheaven, Saturn conjunct Venus, then Venus approaching a conjunction with Jupiter, and then the Sun, and then Mercury, all in Aquarius. So I'm an Aquarius rising. Aquarius is my first house. Um, so that's a lot. That's a lot of energy. And let's see the descendant, because I'm talking about like a potential relationship. So that'd be like seventh house, and that's Scorpio, ruled by Mars, which is in Taurus, in the first house, which is ruled by Venus in Aquarius, in the 10th, conjunct Saturn in its own sign. So yeah, it's like, what if I just end? I'm like, so yeah, okay. um, so it's a lot of 10th house energy, I'll say. Um, whichever way you look at it. I think this is automatically in Placidus houses. And then I'm like using the signs because you can just count them. So the 10th house is smaller than Aquarius, but it looks like it contains all of the Aquarius energy within it. And then yeah, let's see. So I guess if you want to look at it in Placidus, Mars and Uranus in the 12th house would be like there's a lot of stuff going on that I don't know about. Um, the stuff about his neighbor getting robbed and stuff, and all the difficulties he was having. So that's like, and then it came to light. So yeah, like he finally told me about it. And then wow, that's the gymnastics. What was I? Yeah, I do remember there was like I don't know what it was called. There's like the little bar and then the bigger bar that you flip around and jump between. I was standing on the little one, and the instructor was like he was barely like holding my pinky, and I'm like, I can't stand, hold on. And then like he was helping me balance with the lightest touch. And then as soon as he took his hand away, I'd be like, whoa, okay. And then he's like, I'm barely even putting any pressure. Like you're basically doing it yourself. But like as soon as he took his hand away, I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. And so I don't know what that, let's see. Balance is like a Libran thing. Libra, sixth house. Um, let's see, the moon's in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter in Aquarius with all that Aquarius energy. It's really like a lot of me just like, what is going on in my life? I'm trying to get this like, this promotion. I'm trying to get this relationship to work. I'm trying to exercise. I'm trying to like, there's a lot of talking about the gym, and when Saturn goes through your first house, there's a Saturn is a planet of like limitations, and it's also about like discipline, stuff like that. So and like Jupiter expands and Saturn like limits and shrinks. So if you have Jupiter going through your first house, you might gain weight. Saturn going through your first house, you might like lose weight, and that could be for negative reasons. Like you could get sick and lose weight that way, or you could um like develop a routine. Saturn, it's like routines, I think. It seems like it would make routine is like sixth house and like Virgo kind of, but it also like Saturn is like, yeah, like I said, limitations and stuff. So you might be limiting what you eat, you might be like putting in more effort and like becoming more disciplined in your exercise regimen. So I was walking my roommate's dog, sixth house Libra in the 10th house. Okay. I don't really have more to say about this chart. I don't really know. I'm just kind of doing this for fun, and then I don't know if anyone watching, like, what kind of things you would want me to talk about. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments. But I'm just gonna keep on going with the next chart here. So we got Sunday, March 14th at 1:04. Um, March 14th, part one. So again, I love that I'm doing timestamps again. So we got Cancer rising for this chart. Moon in Aries. I have a big crack on my iPad. I love that for me. Let's get that at a better angle so I can see what's going on. Okay. We still have a lot of Aquarius energy, but not as much. It looks like Mercury has entered Pisces. No, Mercury's at 28 Aquarius. Um, yeah, so this has been like a month since we're skipping all the other entries. Um, a little bit over because it was February 6th. So it's like 5 weeks later. Um, so yeah, the moon is the ruler of the chart, moon in Aries, ruled by Mars in Gemini. So Mars was in Gemini for a long time because it went retrograde there. So um that's like just a very memorable time. I remember I got my violin when Mars was in Gemini, and I looked at the chart as we were leaving the music store, and it was like um I don't remember. I think it might have been Mars like right on the ascendant, and I was like, "Oh, Mars and Gemini. Great. That's interesting." Or it might have been like Scorpio rising ruled by Mars and Gemini or something. Um, but I remember like thinking like I'm gonna start thinking of this as like a shoulder and like arm workout instead of like playing music. I'm like exercising my shoulders and my arms because that's more of like a Mars and Gemini thing. And I do like I'm sitting there like, okay, feeling, and focusing on my posture. Like there's a lot of, you know, this area with violin, like you have the so yeah, I'm like it makes sense, but when I first got it and looked at it, and I went with my dad and he just paid cash for it. I was like, "What? Okay." And then we went somewhere else right after it, and it was kind of like a sketchier looking neighborhood, maybe. I mean, I don't really believe in like sketchy whatever. That feels like a racist thing to say, but I was a little bit worried after looking at the chart. It wasn't like just because of the neighborhood or anything. But yeah, I was like, this is about to get stolen right now. Like we just bought it with Mars on the Ascendant, like watch it someone break into the truck and steal it. But luckily that didn't happen. So yeah, Mars and Gemini. Um and we've got so the sun has entered Pisces. It's like pretty closely conjunct Neptune. Oh, the sun is really close to the midheaven in this chart. I'm like half ignoring it because the other ones I wasn't looking at that, but the sun and the midheaven are both at 24 Pisces. And then we've got Jupiter and Venus also in Pisces. So Venus is exalted in Pisces, and if you believe the modern rulerships, Neptune would be the ruler of Pisces. So we've got a lot of like pretty good energy in Pisces. And then Uranus is still in Taurus, but Mars has moved out. Um, and yeah, we've got Mercury is still in Aquarius. Mercury, when it enters Pisces, it will be in both in detriment and fall, because Mercury is both the ruler of Virgo and exalted in Virgo. So in Pisces, it's like double bad. But it's not there yet. And we've got Bowser whining in his room. I've been drinking coffee. Coffee. Um, I don't know. Let's see. And we've also got The Descendant. It's probably, yeah, I'm talking about relationships again. And like, oh no, I was talking about Green for the first part. So yeah, she was saying some things that like would really offend me. Um, just I've mentioned it before, and just to be clear, it was like sexual assault related comments. Like I was sexually assaulted in college, and my roommate at the time had been also sexually assaulted. And there was some like rumors that she was lying about it or lying about who did it, and I was really mad about that. And this girl told me that I needed to understand where these other people are coming from, and that made me so mad. I was like, I understand exactly where they're coming from. I've been in this situation, and I didn't tell people because I know exactly what they're thinking, and I don't need you to tell me. Like it made me so mad. And then I like looked at her chart, and I'm like, she has so many air placements, and air is like about communication and stuff. And I just felt like, she was just like, she's texted me this too when I told her that I was upset with what she said. She's like, I was just saying something to say something, like in the social network. She's like, I was just asking to ask. Um so yeah, I'm like, she was just saying it to say something. And even though it made me really mad because I have the Grand Trine in water, and I just felt like, oh my God, like physically in my body, like there's so much going on that like I can't even talk. Like if someone's like, what's wrong? I can't even, it's just like everything. Like one answer doesn't come up. It's like 10 things that are coming up at once, and I'm just like, um, so yeah. Um, I feel like Pisces energy, there's this, since it's opposite to Virgo, there's this kind of like feeling that words aren't enough. Like words don't really convey what I'm trying to say. Like you can say I love you, but it's like how many people have said those words and like didn't mean that. Like you don't know what I feel when I say that, because like anyone could just say it. And it's like there's a lot of Pisces energy where I'm just like, yeah, like I'm feeling a lot, and she's just saying things that she doesn't really mean, and I'm getting offended and taking it personally. And then she got mad at me for being mad at her, and was like, okay, if you're gonna be mad at me for that, I'm not gonna talk to you. And I'm like, good, I don't want to talk to you. So she would like ignore me at work, and I was just like, okay, have fun. And then she like eventually realized that I wasn't gonna be like, I'm sorry for being upset that you made some really gross comments about sexual assault victims, but I mean, I know you didn't mean them. I know you, and like I know she's never experienced something like that, and so like to me, I'm like grateful that she doesn't know what it's like. So like I'm just trying to be like, I'm not gonna like make it a big deal, but I'm also not gonna keep putting myself in a situation where I'm like letting myself get triggered like this, because like I can't work like if I'm really pissed off about someone making comments like that, like, oh, she probably lied about who it was, and I'm like talking to a customer, and I'm just like fucking pissed off. Sorry, a guest. Um, okay, and then later that night, hopefully that made sense. I'm not even talking about like the chart anymore. I'm just rambling about Pisces. Okay, so we've got new houses to look at. Let's see. The other ones, that was in like the Pisces stuff was like ninth house. I'm looking at whole sign houses. So it's very, yeah, that's ninth house is kind of like higher education, or like spirituality and stuff. And I feel like that was me just being like taking the more like spiritual path of being like, I'm not gonna like keep fighting this fight, but I'm gonna like take the high road. I don't know. That kind of feels demeaning, like I'm putting the other girl down, but anyway, I don't mean anything bad. So 10:37 p.m. we've got Scorpio rising. Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Wasn't the No, the other one had the moon is still in Aries. So the rising and the moon are both ruled by Mars in Gemini. Um, Mars in Gemini ruled by Mercury in Aquarius, ruled by Saturn in Aquarius. So we've got Saturn and Jupiter and Mercury all in the fourth house. So that's like a lot of expansion and communication about like home and like private matters, I think. Let's see. And okay. Oh, and wow, Uranus conjunct the descendant. This is the day that Blue came in. So what had happened was I didn't put this in the journals, I guess, but I'd cut my hair at some point. I had like really long hair like I do now, but it didn't look this like healthy. It was kind of like blonde because I had to put it up every day for work. And I'm not doing that anymore. It was like blonde and like dry, just like stringy at the ends. And then so I was like, I was just gonna cut a little bit off, and then I kept cutting a little more, and I'm like, it still looks a little dead. And so I ended up cutting it like up to here. Um, okay, and not to be too crude, but again, if a relative is watching, you can stop listening for a second. But one time, Blue had come over and we were having a good time. We were having sex, and he like my hair is still long, and he kind of like held it, and he asked me like he just kind of like grabbed it all and was like, "Do you ever think about cutting your hair?" Like mid, and I was just like, "No, not really." He's like, "Oh, okay." And like we just continued, and so then like later I didn't cut my hair because of him or anything. I was just like cutting it, and I thought of him saying that, and I was like, "Oh, I think he's gonna like it." And then I came into work after cutting it, and he just kind of like I don't remember exactly what he said. I think he was like, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, "Cause I wanted to." He was like, "Yeah, but why?" I was like, "Cause," or I think I might have said like, "Cause it's my hair" or something, and I can. Or it's like, "But why?" I'm like, "Cause I wanted to." And I was like, "Oh my God, you hate it." And then I like walked away to clock in. He was there first and like let me in. And I was like, "Oh my God, I hate your hair," basically. And then so I'm like, I don't know if it's the astrology thing or if it was because I cut my hair, but yeah, he just like he walked into work, and there were two other girls or three other girls in there's like a little area. You walk in, and there's like the register where the to-go person can take your order, and then there's like the door to the kitchen. So there are like four of us kind of in that little tiny room. Um, and he walked in. I looked up, and I didn't really recognize him at first, and so I just like looked down, and then I looked back up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's Blue." And then I like walked closer to him, and then he walked past me and started talking to the other people that were in the room, and like didn't look at me at all. And I was like, "What?" What's going on? So like big sudden changes in relationships. Even though it wasn't really that big or sudden because like we already went like a month without talking, and like he wasn't really texting me back at this point anyway. And then so I just like got food, and I thought like maybe because like everyone that I've gone out with has been somebody that I met at work. And so like there's this part of me that's like I don't really want to talk about it with coworkers, especially like at the beginning, because it's like we don't. I feel like it's just gonna cause drama for no reason. So like I try to be a little more secretive about it, and I thought maybe he was just kind of like not trying to like give anything away to everybody, and just being like, okay. So I thought maybe that like that was happening, and he was just trying to be like subtle. Um, let's see, Midheaven and Leo. Leo ruled by the sun, conjunct Venus, conjunct Neptune. Um, so yeah, there like Neptune is also about illusions and stuff. So that's like I was having some illusions and delusions about like love and what my future was gonna look like. Like I had this like flash of just like my hair, like what it would look like if we got married, and I was like, oh my gosh, is that like a sign that we're gonna get married? Because I don't think I ever felt that with my ex-boyfriend. Like, I was never planning out my wedding with some guy I'm never marrying. with him, but then this guy, I was thinking of like we both worked in a restaurant and I think we both had two jobs at different points. And so it was like we're both really busy. We're both like not really financially doing that well, but like I would imagine like and he also has a kid who's like I don't know how old his kid is. Um but I was imagining this like future where like we had like better jobs and more time and like his kid was older and like maybe wouldn't be there and we would go out to like fancy restaurants and like we would both order a plate of food and then like get up in the middle of the of the meal and like switch plates and like eat like finish each other's like because we both wanted to try it but I don't know where that came from and I just like saw this like vision of us and I was like oh my gosh we're like meant to be and yeah it it didn't happen like there were a couple times that we were supposed to hang out and it didn't happen. Like one time he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get some drinks with my friends and then I'll be over after like one or two." And then he ended up staying and having more. And I was like, I was fine. I was like, "Yeah, hang out with your friends, have a good time." And then the same thing happened. I was getting drinks with she was one of our coworkers, but yeah, I just like stayed after work and had a drink with one of the other girls who had just gotten off work, and we stayed and had like a couple more than I thought I was going to. And so like, and then the day that I talked about, I think it was last week, um, where I we were supposed to hang out, and then I ended up covering a shift at the last minute, and it was just like we just don't have time together, but I mean like I guess it didn't bother me that much because my ex-boyfriend and I, he said he wanted to do long distance, because he was going back to school, and so he moved, and we were doing long distance for a little bit, and then we ended up breaking up, shortly after, but I started going to therapy, and she gave me some like tips about how to deal with long distance and stuff, and so like he ended up breaking up with me that night, the same night that I started therapy, because like when we started long distance, I just started crying all the time. I was just so sad. Like this was my first boyfriend and I finally like been kissed and was like having sex for the first time and then he moved and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm just like so like now that I know what I'm missing out on and it's like I have a boyfriend and I still like don't have all these things that I like was missing out on and now I'm missing out again, but like I was so sad." And then he broke up with me the night after I started therapy and like got tips about long distance. So that was really fun for me. Um, but yeah, like I never imagined like getting married to him or anything. Um, yeah, it was just like I knew he was gonna be going back to school before we started dating, and so I just kind of thought like this is probably just gonna be like a summer fling or something, and then like at least I'll finally have my first kiss or whatever with a boy. I'd kissed two girls by that point, but I didn't think they counted because I didn't know that being gay was the thing. Anyway, um, yeah. So let's see. Is there anything else I want to say? I think I want to pull a tarot card, and then we'll get to the rest of the story later. Yeah. So tune in next time if you want to hear more about what happened before and after those entries. I want to pull, I've got this astro themed deck, Ast Star Codes Astro Oracle by Heather Ronan Robbins. I just want to pull one. I'm not going to read it. And then I think I want to pull from my cat tarot. Do I have the book for that somewhere? All right. So we've got the fourth house was the last card that I was um, doing with this that I pulled this deck, just so you know what they're like. Just an astrological theme. They have like the signs, the houses, planets, some aspects and stuff. That was a pretty good shuffle. All right, one card to sum up the reading, please, and thank you. Not a tarot girly. Okay, we're just gonna do the top one. Mercury. in the reverse. So I did mention Mercury almost being about to enter Pisces. It's sign of, okay. So last time I pulled this, I pulled like these two cards, Ace of Swords and Ace of Pentacles. So I feel like big things are about to happen. Um, this is my, it's the Cats Rule the World Tarot. I don't know what I did with the little booklet. Good shuffles. I don't know how to do a bridge, otherwise I would. I'm just gonna, the Eight of Wands wasn't coming up when I tried to pick up the deck. Let's see. One card, summarize the reading, please. I didn't look at those. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to figure out where I left that book. Okay. So we've got the Queen of Pentacles here. Here it is. Cats Rule the World Tarot. Queen of Pentacles. I open right up to that first page. Okay. The Queen of Pentacles. Practicality, nurture, sufficiency. The Queen of Pentacles is a maternal, gregarious person who offers practical solutions and is interested in the arts. They are financially secure, allowing them to be generous to those they love. Like all court cards, they can signify a person coming into your life or that their qualities are being manifested in you. Okay, it's not reversed, so I'm not going to read the reverse message. But I think that's all I've got for you today. Mary Skelly says bye. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time to find out more. I hope I am also teaching them to know the world as a neighborhood of non-human residents, to know that as an eco-theologian, Thomas Berry was written. Although they still have to learn scientific roles and Latin names, I hope I am also teaching them to know the world as a neighborhood of non-human residents, to know that as an eco-theologian, Thomas Berry has written. I hope I am also teaching them to know the world as a neighborhood of non-human residents, to know that as eco-theologian Thomas Berry has written, we must say of the universe that it is a common... I can't get this last sentence. Okay. I hope I'm also teaching them to know that the world is a neighborhood of non-human residents, to know that as eco-theologian Thomas Berry has written, we must say the name of the universe, that it is a communion. As eco-theologian Thomas Berry has written, we must say of the universe that it is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. So it does kind of relate to astrology.